Hi, welcome. In this video, I'd like to take a few minutes to help people navigate the issue about emotions in dogs and why this is such a difficult issue, and at the same time, one of the most critical issues, really, when it comes to understanding a dog's relational needs and how the emotions of people, your thinking processes, how it packages up to create a real problem and a lot of drama for so many dog owners when it comes to overcoming behavior issues and problems, and then trying to figure this out. Now, here's the thing. I talk about emotions with dogs. It's more about understanding the reactions of dogs. Now, when dogs react certain ways, how the mind will respond relationally within the framework of issues related to control, and the reaction to that once a dog starts to gain that control relationally. This is one of the things when you see things such as fear in a dog, or the reaction that mimics the response of how we interpret it, that reaction through fear. What that is, the combination of a response through holding control and stress. Okay, so there's this immediately when a dog starts to gain power in the relationship, there's a stress load that comes on to the dog. Just keep that again in your hip pocket when you see reactions of dogs. And so that stress reaction, and then the issue of challenge on top of that, creates a kind of a cocktail that will, mimic reactions that will trigger us to think will humanize it. And we'll say, wow, that dog is fearful. And then the problem with that is it'll trigger empathy and an emotional response. And in that, through relationally with that represents, that empowers the dog. That's weakness. So it's a type of response that will mimic, and trigger a certain state of mind with the human, and then on top of that, it will create this kind of a loop. Kind of picture like a computer loop in a program that just keeps, it's like there's a bug in it, and it just keeps going around and around. You have to debug the program. Well, that's the same as getting out of this type of thing. Now, the issue about people ask me, now this is where you can look at things in terms of the dog liking part. Okay, so the dog will accept people, and the tail will wag, and the dog will look very happy. But here's the problem. It's about the dog being fulfilled through the issue of control, and the dog coming into agreement with that, but in wrong relationship. So it empowers the dog. So the liking produces what looks like a happy state, okay, and it'll make the person happy and trigger more emotion, and that represents, again, empowering the dog and more control. So the state of mind of the dog does not mimic the same state with the human. Just understand. So there's a big difference here. It produces a physical. So the reactions of the dog will produce a physical manifestation of a certain state that we interpret a certain way, and it's more about control than anything else, okay, and possessiveness and all those things. So just understand, this is why, again, this comes to experience. Just understand, being able to sort this out comes to being able to filter this stuff, filter through it, and know absolutely, without a doubt, what it is, okay? Just understand this. Now, the other issue here, too, we get in this issue about the issue of, the bond itself, or reconciling. Once you get to a point of actually processing this and starting to get the dog to come into right relationship, when you start to enter in upon the process as for what is the relational changing process, This is why, when I talk about skipping over certain, approaches or ways to, change behavior, is again, it's about the dog coming into agreement with what's reasonable relationally. So, for example, Dabo's issue about, the problem with using quadrants as a roadmap and different things about how that packages up, because of what that represents to the dog through the thinking processes of the human, with creating enough momentum, to bring that person out of that perception by the dog, so that you're going to be in right relationship. It's going to influence the dog's decision-making process at the right level relationally. Now there is a thing though here, when you look at you talk about emotion, there's a fulfillment issue. Now this is where I can talk about this and say, well, if I want to interpret from looking at the relationship, what a fulfillment level would be, where if there was ever a point where the dog is truly expressing an emotion. I'm going to say this to help people, at least maybe motivate people to see that there's light on the other side here, is that when you come into harmony with the dog and you're fulfilling the relationship rightly, when you're reconciling your emotions and able to come out on the other side where you're truly bringing the dog into the follower role, and the stress loads are coming off the dog and the control issues are no more, then there is a part of that journey, there is a point where, for lack of a better word, the dog is truly happy, but I would still not overly emotionalize that. But it's truly this thing where you see it with police canine officers and such, and they talk about this bond that's very deep. That would be, if there's ever a context of saying something about a satisfaction through an emotional state, it would be that truly being one with nature that way. So there definitely, if I was able to, frame it up properly, that would be it. Otherwise, just understand everything else doesn't represent right relationship. You're dealing with control, you're dealing with stress on the dog, you're dealing with reactions that will trigger emotions, you'll deal with the dog liking, but it's not emotionalized that way. The dog is in a different state of mind. But see, it just creates a train wreck for people, because they'll overly emotionalize something that it's not really that way with the dog at all. But it will, it will, because especially people that are overly emotional anyway, that's why they're in a mess to begin with, because they haven't reconciled their emotions. It just packages up all wrong. So anyway, hopefully that helps you understand some of this. Just understand something here. It's very difficult, for anyone to be able to describe what these things are unless you've taken that journey and you've able to think a certain way and process this through, so that you absolutely know, because you understand the process. So I process this enough over and over and over again, and to be able to define what it is. Just understand that. But the average dog owner, it's already in the mess. You try to cipher through this, and you'll never get to where you need to go. But you have to really trust what I'm saying. Much of what you see is very deceptive. It'll trigger certain things in the emotions of people that will just keep you locked in, and you'll never get out of it. And you have to understand, that there's things that how the dog's mind reacts. It's not the same as what you think it is. So even though it looks that way, it's a cocktail of certain things going on, but it's not the emotionalized type of thing that people think. So anyway, hopefully this helps. Thanks for watching.